Hey everybody, welcome to my first video about barbecuing. So I'm by no means an expert, but I have been doing it for a few years now, and I've picked up a few tips and tricks off of people along the way. So today we're going to be doing some smash burgers on the Weber 57 kettle. On top of that we've got the smoke rig PLANCHA. So I'll be going through the basics, how to set up the barbecue and what tools and things you might need if you're just getting into it. So as I said, today we're going to be using the Weber 57 Mastertouch. It's a fantastic barbecue, great for those that are just getting into barbecuing. It does a bit of everything really. You can use it for hot and fast grilling. You can set it up indirect if you want to do some long and slow cooks for your pork butts and briskets. But like I said, today we're going to be doing some burgers using the smoke rig PLANCHA. So first things first, we need to get the coals lit. So before we go any further, let's just have a quick talk about charcoal. Two main types that you can use: lumpwood or briquettes. As a general rule of thumb, but obviously this does vary, you would want to use lumpwood for maybe your faster cooks and briquettes for your longer cooks. That's not always the case. There's some of this really good quality lumpwood. You can get some really long burns out of it if you get your barbecue set up well. I tend to prefer to use the lumpwood, to be honest. I find it has more of a natural flavour to it. Today I'm using the Big K restaurant grade charcoal. It's really important that you do invest in some good quality charcoal, not the stuff you can get from your local garage. You can see there's some nice big lumps of wood in here. This will help get you a nice even long cook. And when it comes to lighting, very important that you don't use any sort of lighter fuels, because you don't want that to taint the flavour of your meat. There's a few different things you can do. You can either use what we call a chimney starter, something like this. So you'd fill the lumpwood inside it, and then maybe screw up some kitchen towel underneath and light it, and then wait until your coals have ashed over, and then pour it into your barbecue. Today I'm going to be using a loaf lighter. This is basically just a supercharged heating element that is a fast way of getting the coals started. I'm mainly using this today because I don't know what I've done with my large chimney starter, and there's a bit more charcoal in here than what will fit in the small one. So all you do with this is just stick it in the middle of the coals, make sure that the element on the end there is touching one of the coals, and press the button and off you go. You start seeing some sparks coming out of the lumpwood like you just did in that video, pull the loaf lighter away slightly and keeping hold of the button, and that will spread the heat around and get your coals lit in no time. So as you can see, we've had the loaf lighter on for about 90 seconds, and we've got a decent amount of flame there now. So what we'll do is we'll just leave that for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just to work its way across all the lumpwood. What you want is for the coal basically to, what we call ash over, so you want the coals to be burning white really, not this black that it is at the moment, and then you're pretty much ready to cook. So as the coals are set out here, if we was to have a grill sat on top, we would call that direct cooking. Ideal setup for doing hot and fast things like burgers and steaks. If we was to imagine that the barbecue was split in half and you had your coals sat on one side, we'd call that indirect cooking. So then you would put your meat over one side and your heat source over the other side, and that's an ideal setup for doing your low and slow cooks for things like your pork butts and briskets. So while our coals are heating up, let's just talk a little bit about the meat that we're going to be using. So today I've got a blend of chuck steak and an aged four-rib cap to bring in the fat. It's roughly around about 20% fat content. You need something like that to make sure your burger stays nice and juicy while you're cooking. For me, chuck is a really nice blend for burgers. I know a lot of people use chuck and brisket. Basically, this is up to you. Have an experiment with different cuts of meat. Get to know your local butcher. ask him for his advice as well, and just play around with a few different blends, change your fat content, change your cuts of beef, and go from there basically. So like I said, today we're using chuck, and this is an aged rib cap off of the forerib that I've minced through it. It's gone through the mincer twice, still fairly coarse. You don't want it too fine, still want a bit of texture in your burger. And I'm just going to season it with a mix of freshly milled black pepper and smoked sea salt. Again, up to you, you can add all sorts of different flavours into your burgers, but I find when you're first getting out, getting into barbecue, stick with the basics, and then develop your recipes from there. So we're just going to season the meat up. Be fairly generous with your seasoning, especially with the black pepper. It's nice to have a bit of heat come through the burger with the black pepper, and then give it a nice good mix up, getting all that seasoning right through the meat. So we mixed all that seasoning through, and then we've just divided the meat into roughly 4 equal sized balls. That's all we're going to do for now. In a little while we'll smash them out into a rough burger shape. We're not going to be using a press today, just going to form them by hand, get a nice rustic finish to the burger. So I'm just going to prepare a couple of the accompaniments to go with our burger. So today I'm just going to be doing some red onion, have a little bit of little gem lettuce, and we might knock up a bit of sauce to go with it as well. When you're slicing onions, if you keep some of the root intact, and it should stop you crying. Sometimes, not always. So these onions, they're just going to sit on the side of the plancha while we're cooking the burgers, just to gently cook down, and we can top the burger with them later. So we're just going to knock up a fairly basic burger sauce to go with our burgers today. We've got mayonnaise, ketchup, and a bit of Worcester sauce. Just combine that all together. Again, this is personal choice. Lots of different options to top your burgers with. Don't have to have a sauce at all if you don't want to. But yeah, again, just experiment with different flavours, different sauces, and see what you prefer. A lot of barbecue is about experimenting and about finding the things that you like. Doesn't matter if all the top people in the world are doing one thing. If you don't like it, doesn't mean you've got to do it. Just play with flavours, play with ingredients, and find what works best for you. So finally, last couple of ingredients. We've got some little gem lettuce and some nice sliced gherkins that are going to go on top of the burger as well. So as you can see, coals are coming on nicely now. Lots of the small ones pretty much ready. A couple of the big ones, a few more minutes. So in a minute we'll put our plancha on top and start getting that heated up. So as you can see, we've now put our plancha on top of our kettle. Some of you might be thinking, what the hell is a plancha? It's basically a big griddle. This one's been made by Smoke Rig Barbecue. Fantastic product. So yeah, we just use it as a giant griddle basically. So as you can see, main heat source is going to be in the middle where our coals were, and then slightly cooler spots around the outside. We need to keep this on for about 5 minutes, get it heated up nicely. If you do have one of these, make sure you treat it with oil after every cook. Give it a nice clean. You want to get yourself a nice little scraper to get any debris off that's left. Scrape it away into the holes. You should have a drip tray in there really. And then yeah, at the end of each cook, just give it a wipe over with some oil just to preserve its life, stop it going rusty. So while we're waiting for the plancha to come up to temperature, just going to put our onions on to start cooking slowly. So just a small drizzle of oil. And then get your onions on You see it's not sizzling at the moment because there's not much heat there. Just want to start these onions off nice and gently to start caramelizing down, because the burgers are going to cook pretty quickly. So by the time this is up to temp, the plancha is going to be really nice and hot. So just going to put these around the outside just to gently start cooking down, start releasing some of the natural sugars, and then we can bring it closer to the heat source later to get a nice caramelization on them. Right, okay, so moving on, we're going to finish these burgers. As you'll see, I've donned the snazzy blue gloves again. It's very important when you're working with raw meat, just to be aware of your hygiene. I'm not saying everyone has to go out and wear blue gloves, but if you haven't got the gloves, then make sure you are washing your hands in between using raw products and your ready to eat cooked products, and with all your utensils and stuff as well. So all we're going to do, we formed the burger into balls already, so literally just into your hands, just press until you've got the rough burger shape that you want. I always just push the center in slightly more because it does tend to bowl out slightly when you're cooking, so it just helps you get a slightly more even finish to your burger. So again, just work it in your hands. Doesn't matter if you get a few cracks around the outside or if it's not a perfect circle shape. Part of the fun of making your own burger. Again, just slightly indent the middle ever so slightly. And that's it, guys. Just keep working your way around until you finish them all. So as you can see, these onions are really cooking down nicely now. Starting to get a nice caramelization on them, and that's the natural sugars that are coming out of the onions and starting to caramelize. If you've got too high a heat, you're just going to burn the onions before you've had a chance to draw out those sugars. This is why we haven't got it right in the center spot here. We're just cooking them gently on the outside. We're nearly there, so I think it's about time to get the burgers on. So we're going to start off by putting the burgers right in the middle, right on our heat source. What we want to do is get a really nice crust on these burgers. And what you can do, if you find the burgers are cooking too quickly and that crust is actually turning into a burn, then we can just move them around the outside where it's slightly cooler to start cooking through. Or if you find that they're cooking fine where they are, then just leave them alone. So today we're going to be looking for an internal temperature of around about 62 degrees C. It should give us a medium rare finish to the burger if we get it right. So make sure you're using a good quality mince if you're going to be cooking your burgers on the medium rare side, because you don't want to be getting any food poisoning. Right, so we've been cooking for about 2.5 minutes now. So we're going to give them a quick flip, see how we're looking. Lovely, so we've got a nice crust building up on the burger there. That'll give us a really nice juicy flavour. Fantastic. Okay, so while these burgers are cooking, I'm just going to toast our buns as well alongside. I'm using brioche buns, but again, this is all down to personal choice. Just pick a bun which you find works well with your burger. Right, so these burgers have been on for probably about 3 or 4 minutes now. I've flipped them a couple of times. We're just going to check our internal temperature. So as you can see, we're around about the 57, 56 mark. So I think it's about time we got some cheese on some of these because that temperature is going to come up quite quickly when we put the cloth on as well. So my cheese of choice for today is Rutland Red. This is a 6 months matured Leicester cheese, award-winning cheese. But like I keep saying, all down to personal choice. So it's going to pop that on top, and then what we want to do is to cover the burger there with what we call a cloth. That just helps to melt the cheese over the top of the burger, bring that internal temperature up. You can, if you want, spray a little bit of water inside the cloth as well. That just helps to steam the burger and helps it maintain some moisture. So while our cheese is melting, we're going to prepare our buns. So, nice bit of sauce there on the bottom. And then the obligatory bit of greenery, like so. And if you want, you can top the burgers with sauce as well. So we are starting to lose light quite drastically now. And you can see the cheese has melted nicely. 63 degrees exactly. So we are ready to go. So the burger's all ready to go. We sat it on top of our nice little gem lettuce. Our caramelised onion sat on top. And close it off with the bun on top. Don't forget we've got those gherkins that we can sit in there as well. That's all that's left. Just to get inside and eat them. So, hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting, possibly a little bit useful as well. Sorry it's got a little bit dark. Took a bit longer to do than what I thought it might. If you want to find out a bit more, get in touch with me on Facebook. If you want to find out about the meat, then check out my Butcher's Facebook page at JL Butchers. See you all soon.